In this lecture, we'll be discussing about the topic mesh analysis. So mesh analysis is used for solving planar networks. For solving means we can find out the current through different branches and the voltage across different branches of a circuit. So the mesh analysis is used for solving planar networks. So what are planar networks? Planar networks, as the name indicates, they are the networks which can be drawn on a plane without any branches crossing each other. So planar networks are those networks which can be drawn on a plane or on a paper without any branches crossing each other. So this is an example of a planar network. Here there are a number of branches, but none of the branches crosses each other. So here this is an example of a non-planar networks. So here we can see these two branches crosses each other. These two resistive branches crosses each other. So this is a non-planar network. So this mesh analysis is used for solving planar networks. Now let us see what are the basic steps involved in mesh analysis. First step is to check whether the circuit is planar or not. So we know that we can apply mesh analysis only to planar networks. So first of all, check whether the circuit is planar or not. So if the circuit is planar, then assign mesh currents. So there may be a number of meshes, then assign currents to all the meshes. So thereafter apply KVL to each of the meshes or loops and solve the KVL equations. So identify all the meshes, assign currents to each of the meshes, thereafter apply Kirchhoff's voltage law to each of the meshes. So we will get equations corresponding to Kirchhoff's voltage law, then solve those KVL equations and find out the unknown currents and voltages of that particular circuit. So these are the general steps involved in solving mesh analysis. So now I am going to illustrate the procedure of mesh analysis using an example. So as an example, consider this particular circuit. So this is a planar circuit. So our first step is to check whether the circuit is planar or not. So this is a planar circuit. So none of the branches crosses each other. So now go to the second step. The second step is to identify all the meshes and assign currents to the meshes. So here we need to consider three meshes. So this is mesh 1, this is mesh 2 and this is mesh 3. So mark currents to all the meshes. So let us mark currents like this. So this is mesh number 1, this is mesh number 2 and this is mesh number 3. So I am assigning currents to each of the meshes. So let the current of mesh number 1 will be I1, current flowing through mesh 2 will be I2 and current flowing through mesh 3 is I3. So here I have marked all the mesh currents in the clockwise direction. So I1, I2 and I3 are marked in the clockwise direction, and that is not necessary. We can mark current in any direction. Okay, it can be either in clockwise or in anti-clockwise direction, and that is our choice. So any direction is okay. So what I am going to do is, I will always mark the mesh current in clockwise direction. Okay. So now, after marking the mesh currents, consider each of the meshes, and for the first mesh, trace that particular mesh in any particular direction. So trace means consider each of the components. So if I am considering this voltage source first, then Ri and then Rb, then I am considering in the clockwise direction. I am moving in the clockwise direction. So after marking all the mesh currents, then start to trace each of the meshes in any desired direction. So I am going to trace this mesh 1 in clockwise direction itself. Okay. So let us start from this particular point. So consider loop 1. So give the subheading as loop 1 and apply KVL to loop 1. Applying KVL. So for applying KVL, start tracing the circuit in any direction, either in clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. Okay, and what I am always doing is, I will always mark the currents, mesh currents in clockwise direction, and also I will trace the circuit in the clockwise direction. So let us start from this particular point. We are considering mesh 1 first, loop 1 first, and let us start from this point. So I am going to trace the circuit in clockwise direction. That means I will be moving like this. Starting from here, I will move like this path and like this. Okay. So when I am moving like this, I am moving from negative terminal to positive terminal of the battery. So from negative to positive of the battery, there is a rise in potential, and we know that all potential rises should be given a positive sign. All potential rises are positive. So here, when I am moving from this point in the clockwise direction, that is in this direction, I am moving from negative terminal to positive terminal of the battery. So there is a rise in potential. So voltage EMF of the battery should be marked as positive. Okay, so plus VA. Now I am coming like this and reaches resistor RA. So I am moving in the clockwise direction, and the current I1, current through resistor RA, is also in the same direction. So if the direction in which we are moving and the direction of current flow are the same, then there is a potential drop in the resistor, and in that condition the voltage across the resistor should be marked as negative. So here minus voltage across the resistor. So voltage across the resistor is current into resistance, that is current is I1 into RA. So minus I1 into RA. Okay. Now the second component is RB. So I am tracing in this direction, and I1 is also flowing in the same direction. So when the direction in which we are moving and the direction of current flow are the same, there is a potential drop, and that voltage should be marked as negative. So minus voltage drop across RB is I1 into RB. So minus I1 into RB. Okay. So we have considered all the components, but we haven't yet written all the voltage drops, because this resistor RB is common to loop 1 and loop 2. So current I2, current of loop 2, that is I2, is also flowing through RB. So there is a voltage drop in RB due to this current I2 also. So we have to consider that voltage drop also while writing the KVL equation. So see, we are considering mesh 1, or we are tracing mesh 1 in this direction, in the clockwise direction. So we are moving from this point to this point. We are moving from top to bottom while considering resistor RB, but current I2, current of mesh 2, is flowing from bottom to top of RB. So current I2 is flowing in the opposite direction. So we are moving in a particular direction, and current I2 is moving in the opposite direction. So in that condition, the voltage should be taken as positive. So voltage across RB due to I2 should be taken as positive. So plus I2 into RB, plus I2 into RB. So we have considered the algebraic sum of all the voltages in this particular mesh, and according to Kirchhoff's voltage law, the algebraic sum of all the voltages in a particular mesh equal to 0. So this is the Kirchhoff's voltage law equation for loop 1. And after getting this particular equation, rearrange the equation so in such a way that this term, this constant term, that is EMF of the battery, is on the right hand side of the equation, and all the voltage drop terms are on the left hand side. Okay, so let us take VA to the right hand side, then VA becomes here, and rearranging the equation we will get I1 into RA, I1 into RA plus I1 into RB minus I2 into RB is equal to VA. So when we are taking VA on the right hand side, the equation will become like this. So thereafter, the left hand side should be arranged in such a way that the term containing I1 should come first. Thereafter the term containing I2, and thereafter the term containing I3. So here we have three unknown currents. So arrange the left hand side terms in such a way that the term containing I1 comes first, the term containing I2 comes next, and term containing I3 comes last. So here there are two terms containing I1. So take I1 common. So I1 into RA plus RB. I1 into RA plus RB minus I2 into RB, and here there is no term containing I3. So I3 is the term, so we don't have to consider that term, which is equal to VA. So we have rearranged our equation. Now mark this as equation number 1. So this is the equation corresponding to mesh 1. So after rearranging only, mark it as equation number 1. And now go for the second mesh. So give the subheading as mesh 2, loop 2, and apply KVL. So applying KVL to loop 2. Okay, for applying KVL, first of all we need the current direction. Thereafter, start tracing the circuit in any particular direction. So I am going to trace the circuit in the clockwise direction, that is in the same direction as that of the current. So let us start from this particular point. So I am moving in this direction. Current I2 is also moving in the same direction. See, I2 flows like this, like this. So I am moving in this direction. I2 is also in the same direction. So voltage drop across RB due to I2 should be considered as negative. When the direction in which we are moving and the direction of current flow are the same, voltage drop across the resistor should be taken as negative because there is a drop in potential. So voltage drop across RB due to I2 should be taken as negative. That is minus I2 into RB. Now here also RB is common to loop 1 and loop 2. So there is a voltage drop in RB due to I1 also. So we have to consider that voltage drop also. So we are tracing mesh 2 in this direction. Okay, and I1 is flowing in the opposite direction. We are moving from this bottom point to the top point, but I1 is from top to bottom. So I1 is flowing in the opposite direction of tracing. So voltage drop across RB due to I1 should be treated as positive. So plus voltage drop across RB due to I1 is I1 into RB. Okay, now we are tracing like this. So the next component is RC. So current I2 is flowing through RC. So we are tracing the circuit in this direction. I2 is also flowing in the same direction. So voltage drop across RC due to I2 should be treated as negative. So minus I2 into RC. Minus I2 into RC. Okay. So we are tracing like this. We have considered RC. Next component is resistor RD. So we are tracing in this direction. I2 is also flowing in the same direction. So voltage drop across RD due to I2 will be negative, and that is minus I2 into RD. Now this RD is common to loop 2 and loop 3. So current of loop 3, that is I3, will also flow through RD. So we have to consider the voltage drop across RD due to I3 also. So we are tracing loop 2 in this direction and I3 is flowing in the opposite direction. I3 flows like this. So I3 in the opposite direction. So voltage drop across RD due to I3 will be positive. So plus, and that voltage drop is I3 into RD. I3 into RD. So we have considered all the voltage drops. So in loop 2 there are no EMF. There are no voltage sources there. So there is no EMF. So we have considered all the voltages of mesh 2, and according to Kirchhoff's voltage law, algebraic sum of all the voltages in a mesh is 0. So this will be equal to 0. So next step is to rearrange the equation in such a way that voltage term, constant voltage term is on the right hand side and all the terms containing the unknown currents on the left hand side. So here there are no voltage terms. So right hand side is 0 itself. Now rearrange the left hand side in such a way that term containing I1 comes first, term containing I2 is the next, and term containing I3 comes the last. So let us rearrange. So here there is I1 into RB. So let us write it first. I1 into RB. Then terms containing I2. So minus I2 RB, minus I2 RC, minus I2 RD. So let us take minus I2 common. So minus I2 into RB plus RC plus RD. So now as last, write the term containing I3. See, I3 into RD. So plus I3 into RD is equal to 0. So we have rearranged the equation. Now consider it as equation number 2. So we have got equations for loop 1 as well as for loop 2. Now write the equation for loop 3. So consider loop 3 and apply KVL equation. Now apply KVL to loop 3. So we have marked current in loop 3 in clockwise direction. Now trace loop 3 in any particular direction. So I am using clockwise direction. So let us start from this point. So I am moving in this direction. Current I3 is also in the same direction. So I am moving in this direction through resistor RD. So current I3 is also flowing in the same direction. So voltage drop across RD due to I3 will be negative. And that will be I3 into RD minus I3 into RD. Okay. So now RD is common to loop 3 and loop 2. So there will be a voltage drop on RD due to I2 also. And we are tracing loop 3 in this direction, but I2 is flowing in the opposite direction. So voltage drop across RD due to I2 will be positive. Current flow direction is opposite to that of the direction in which we are tracing the circuit. So voltage drop due to that particular current will be positive. That is plus I2 into RD. Plus I2 into RD. So I am tracing loop 3 like this. So I have considered RD and next component is RE. And current flowing through RE is I3. So I am tracing the circuit in this direction. I3 is also flowing in the same direction. So voltage drop across RE due to I3 will be negative, and that is I3 into RE. So minus I3 into RE. Okay. Now this last component is VB. So I am moving like this. So when I am tracing the circuit like this, I am moving from positive terminal to negative terminal of the battery. So from higher potential to lower potential. So there is a drop in potential. So the battery voltage should be marked as negative. So that is minus VB. So minus VB. So we have considered the algebraic sum of all the voltages across this mesh, and according to Kirchhoff's voltage law, the algebraic sum of all the voltages in a particular mesh should be 0. So this will be equal to 0. Okay. So now rearrange the equation in such a way that voltage EMF term is on the right hand side and all the terms containing the unknown currents I1, I2 and I3 on the left hand side. Okay. So now taking this VB to the right hand side, we will get minus I3 RB plus I2 RB minus I3 RE is equal to VB. Now rearrange this term in such a way that the term containing I1 comes first, the term containing I2 next, and term containing I3 last. So there is no term containing I1. So first write the term containing I2. Okay. So I2 into RD. So next is term containing I3. So there are two terms. Take minus I3 as common. So minus I3 into RD plus RE. RD plus RE. Okay. Which is equal to VB. So this will be equation number 3. Okay. So we have got 3 equations and we have 3 unknowns. The 3 unknown currents I1, I2 and I3. So 3 equations and 3 unknowns. We know how to solve the equations. We can solve the equation by using calculator. But there is a specific method for solving these equations. And in our examinations, it may be specifically asked to do mesh analysis by using that particular method. And that method is known as Cramer's rule or matrix method. So let us study how to solve these 3 equations using Cramer's rule. So we are going to solve these 3 equations using Cramer's rule. So these are the 3 equations that we got corresponding to the 3 loops. So now let us see how to solve these 3 equations using Cramer's rule. It is also known as matrix method. So for solving these equations using Cramer's rule, first of all, represent these 3 equations in a matrix form, like matrix R into matrix I is equal to matrix V. That is, a resistance matrix into a current matrix is equal to a voltage matrix. So if there are 3 equations or 3 loops, then order of this resistance matrix will be 3 by 3. So it will be a square matrix of order 3 by 3. And I is the current matrix of order 3 by 1. V is the voltage matrix of order 3 by 1. So this is a column matrix and this is also a column matrix. So this is a square matrix of order 3 by 3 when there are 3 loops. So this is the resistance matrix. This is the current matrix. And this is the voltage matrix. So now arrange these 3 equations in a matrix form. So while arranging this in this matrix form, the first matrix, the resistance matrix, will contain the coefficients of I1, I2 and I3 in each of the equations. So this column matrix I, it is the matrix of the unknown currents I1, I2 and I3. And this is the voltage matrix which contain the constant voltage terms on the right hand side of the equation. So resistance matrix is the coefficient of unknown currents I1, I2 and I3. It is the unknown currents I1, I2 and I3, and this is the voltage on the right hand side. Okay, let us write the matrix equation corresponding to these 3 equations. So here, as there are 3 equations, resistance matrix will be of order 3 by 3. So let us write the first row of the resistance matrix. And always the first row of the resistance matrix corresponds to the first equation. First row should be written from the first equation. And first row elements will be the coefficients of currents I1, I2 and I3 in the first equation. So first row corresponds to first equation. Okay, and the first row, first element, that is element 1 1, will be the coefficient of I1 in the first equation. So coefficient of I1 is Ri plus Rb. Ri plus Rb. Now, the second element in the first row will be coefficient of I2 in the first equation. So coefficient of I2 is minus Rb. So this is minus Rb. And first row, third element is coefficient of I3 in the first equation. So here there is no term containing I3, so that should be marked as 0. Okay. So that is the first row of the resistance matrix. Now moving on to the second row. So second row of resistance matrix should be written from the second equation. So second row corresponds to second equation, and second row first element is the coefficient of I1. So second equation, coefficient of I1 is Rb. Second row second element, coefficient of I2. So I2 is minus Rb plus Rc plus Rd, minus Rb plus Rc plus Rd. Okay. Now second row third element is the second equation, coefficient of I3, that is Rd. Now third row should be written from third equation. First element will be coefficient of I1, second element will be coefficient of I2, and third element will be coefficient of I3. So what is coefficient of I1 here? Here there is no term containing I1. So this will be 0. Second element is coefficient of I2, that is Rd. And third one is coefficient of I3, that is minus Rd plus Re. So this is how we can formulate the resistance matrix. First row from first equation, second row from second equation, and third row from third equation. This is coefficient of I1, coefficient of I2, coefficient of I3 in first equation. Coefficient of I1, coefficient of I2, coefficient of I3 in second equation. Coefficient of I1, coefficient of I2, and coefficient of I3 in third equation. So we have formulated the resistance matrix, which are the coefficients of I1, I2 and I3. And now resistance matrix into the current matrix. So current means a 3 by 1 column matrix which contains the unknown currents I1, I2 and I3. Okay, which is equal to the voltage matrix. The voltage is on right hand side. The constant voltage is on the right hand side. That are, here it is VA, and here it is 0, and here it is VB. So this is how we represent these three KVL equations in the matrix form. A resistance matrix into a current matrix is equal to a voltage matrix. So this is how the resistance matrix is formed, and we know that this is a 3 by 3 square matrix. So this is the specific equation, specific matrix equation for the circuit that we have considered. So now let us write the equation in a general form. ഇത് നമ്മൾ കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്ത സർക്യൂട്ടിന് വേണ്ടിയുള്ള മെട്രിക്സ് ഇക്വേഷൻ നമ്മൾ എഴുതി. ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് വരുന്നതെന്ന് മനസ്സിലായി. ഇനി നമ്മൾ ഈ ഇക്വേഷനെ ജനറലൈസ് ചെയ്ത് എഴുതാൻ പോവുകയാണ്. So we know that if there are 3 loops, resistance matrix is of order 3 by 3. Current matrix is of order 3 by 1. And the voltage matrix is of order 3 by 1. So let us write the equation in a general way. So resistance matrix, it is a matrix of order 3 by 3. So as it is the resistance matrix, write it as R11, R12, R13. Second row is R21, R22, R23. Third row is R31, R32 and R33 into the current matrix. contains three unknown currents I1, I2 and I3. Okay, which is equal to the voltage matrix. So there will be three voltage terms. Let us generalize it as V1, V2 and V3. So this is the matrix equation corresponding to a circuit having three loops, generalized form of the matrix equation. And let us see how can we calculate the unknown currents I1, I2 and I3 from this equation according to Cramer's rule. And according to Cramer's rule, he suggested that the unknown current I1 can be calculated as the ratio of two determinants. That is, according to Cramer's rule, this current I1 can be written as the ratio of two determinants, delta 1 divided by delta, delta 1 divided by delta, where delta is the determinant of the original resistance matrix. Delta is the determinant of this matrix, and delta 1 is the determinant of a matrix which is obtained by replacing the first column of the resistance matrix by the voltage matrix. So we will get this determinant delta 1, so which is the determinant of a matrix which is obtained by replacing this first column of the resistance matrix by the voltage matrix. Okay, so I1 is delta 1 by delta and I2 is equal to delta 2 by delta and I3 is equal to delta 3 divided by delta. So we know delta is the determinant of the resistance matrix. Okay, and delta 1 is the determinant of the matrix obtained by replacing first column of the resistance matrix by voltage matrix. And while calculating I2, we have to calculate it as delta 2 by delta. Delta is again determinant of this matrix, and delta 2 is the determinant of a matrix which is obtained by replacing the second column of the resistance matrix by the voltage matrix. And for calculating I3, we have to do delta 3 by delta, and delta 3 is the determinant of a matrix which is obtained by replacing third column of the resistance matrix by the voltage matrix. So we know what delta is now. Delta is the determinant of our resistance matrix R11, R12, R13, R21, R22, R23, R31, R32 and R33. So determinant of this matrix is denoted as delta. Now what is delta 1? Delta 1 is the determinant of that matrix which is obtained by replacing first column of this matrix by this one. That is, first column becomes V1, V2 and V3, and remaining is the same. So R12, R13, R22, R23, R32, R33. So this is delta 1. Okay, delta 1 divided by delta. So delta we have here. Now this is delta 2 divided by delta. So delta 2 is obtained by replacing the second column of this matrix by this term. Now delta 2 becomes R11, R21, R31, and second column should be the voltage matrix V1, V2, V3, and the third column is the same, R13, R23 and R33. So divided by delta we will get I2, and for calculating I3 is equal to delta 3 divided by delta. And what is delta 3? Replace third column of this matrix by the voltage matrix and take the determinant. That is, determinant of first and second columns are the same, R11, R12, R21, R22, R31, R32. Then third column is the voltage matrix V1, V2, V3. So divided by delta, we will get I3. So in order to solve the equations using matrix method, first of all represent the equations corresponding to all the loops in a matrix form. നമുക്ക് KVL അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്ത് കഴിയുമ്പോൾ 3 ലൂപ്പ് ഇക്വേഷൻസ് കിട്ടും. ആ ഇക്വേഷൻസിനെ മെട്രിക്സ് ഫോമിൽ റെപ്രസെൻറ്റ് ചെയ്യുക. ഒരു കോഎഫിഷ്യൻ മെട്രിക്സ് ഇൻറ്റു I1, I2, I3 ഇൻറ്റു I1, I2, I3 ഈക്വൽ ടു V1, V2, V3. സോ അത് കിട്ടിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ആ മെട്രിക്സ് എഴുതി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ I1ൻ്റെ വാല്യൂ വിൽ ബി ഈക്വൽ ടു ഡെൽറ്റ 1 ബൈ ഡെൽറ്റ. അതായത് ഡെൽറ്റ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ കോഎഫിഷ്യൻ മെട്രിക്സിൻ്റെ റെസിസ്റ്റൻസ് മെട്രിക്സിൻ്റെ ഡിറ്റർമിനൻ്റ് ആണ്. അപ്പോൾ I1 കണ്ടുപിടിക്കണമെങ്കിൽ ഡെൽറ്റ 1 ബൈ ഡെൽറ്റ ചെയ്യണം. അതായത് I1 കണ്ടുപിടിക്കണമെങ്കിൽ റെസിസ്റ്റൻസ് മെട്രിക്സിൻ്റെ ഫസ്റ്റ് കോളത്തിനെ വോൾട്ടേജ് മെട്രിക്സ് കൊണ്ട് റീപ്ലേസ് ചെയ്ത് കിട്ടുന്ന മെട്രിക്സിൻ്റെ ഡിറ്റർമിനൻറ്റ് ഡിവൈഡഡ് ബൈ ഒറിജിനൽ റെസിസ്റ്റൻസ് മെട്രിക്സിൻ്റെ ഡിറ്റർമിനൻറ്റ് ചെയ്യുക. I2 ആണ് കാൽക്കുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെങ്കിൽ സെക്കൻഡ് കോളത്തിന് വോൾട്ടേജ് മെട്രിക്സ് കൊണ്ട് റീപ്ലേസ് ചെയ്ത് കിട്ടുന്ന മെട്രിക്സിൻ്റെ ഡിറ്റർമിനൻറ്റ് ഡിവൈഡഡ് ബൈ ഒറിജിനൽ മെട്രിക്സിൻ്റെ ഡിറ്റർമിനൻറ്റ്. I3 ആണ് കാൽക്കുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നതെങ്കിൽ തേർഡ് കോളത്തിനെ വോൾട്ടേജ് മെട്രിക്സ് വെച്ചിട്ട് റീപ്ലേസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന മെട്രിക്സിൻ്റെ ഡിറ്റർമിനൻറ്റ് ഡിവൈഡഡ് ബൈ ഒറിജിനൽ റെസിസ്റ്റൻസ് മെട്രിക്സിൻ്റെ ഡിറ്റർമിനൻറ്റ്. So thus we can calculate the unknown currents I1, I2 and I3.